Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 30 of Diehlman at Halftime, the NBA podcast that tops all others. I'm your host, Larry Diehlman. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome aboard, and if you've been a loyal listener, welcome back. We have much to get to today and not a lot of time to do it. We have 5 sections that we'll get into: a general overview of the NBA this week, and our usual highlight, lowlight, random stat, and game of the week. Let's get to our content for the week. As the NBA playoffs continued this week, the winners of the final major awards were announced. On Monday, San Antonio Spurs star Victor Wembanyama was named Rookie of the Year. He won the award over Charlotte's Brandon Miller and Oklahoma City's Chet Holmgren. Minnesota's Rudy Gobert collected another Defensive Player of the Year award for his resume. He beat out Wembanyama and Miami's Bam Adebayo. It's Gobert's 4th time winning Defensive Player of the Year in the last 7 seasons, 3 of them with the Utah Jazz and 1 with Minnesota. He joins Dikembe Mutombo and Ben Wallace as the only players to win Defensive Player 4 times. Can we also just add how amazing it is that Victor Wembanyama was Rookie of the Year and a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year? That's just crazy. And Denver's Nikola Jokic took home the honor of Most Valuable Player. He beat out Dallas's Luka Doncic and Oklahoma City's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This is the 3rd time in 4 years that Jokic has won MVP. The Phoenix Suns fired head coach Frank Vogel on Thursday after just 1 season. In the first full season of the Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal era, the Suns went 49-33 and were the 6th seed in the West. They proceeded to get swept by Minnesota in the first round. Phoenix hired former Bucks head coach Mike Budenholzer as Vogel's successor. He is the Suns' 3rd head coach in 6 seasons and their 7th in the last 10. The irony behind hiring Budenholzer was that the Bucks and the Suns faced off in the finals a few years ago, and Budenholzer was on the winning side, meaning the Bucks, at the time. So we all know the phrase, if you can't beat them, join them, but in this case, if you beat them, join them. Finally, the Charlotte Hornets have hired Boston Celtics assistant coach Charles Lee as the franchise's next head coach. This comes after Steve Clifford announced he was resigning as head coach and transitioning into the front office. This will be Lee's first head coaching job after stints as an assistant in Boston, Milwaukee, Atlanta, and Bucknell. This episode is entitled Building a Foundation. So, who's raising eyebrows at the moment? Let's go to our highlight, the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Oklahoma City Thunder are cementing themselves as a favorite to make it out of the Western Conference, despite the fact that they are down 2-1 in their Western Conference semifinal series against the Dallas Mavericks. Oklahoma City pounded Dallas 117-95 in Game 1 before facing their first 2 setbacks of the postseason, a 119-110 Game 2 loss and a 105-101 Game 3 loss. The Thunder also learned this week that superstar Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did not win MVP. As we mentioned a few moments ago, Nikola Jokic won. Gilgeous-Alexander was a runner-up, but we can only imagine that Oklahoma City cares more about other important hardware, if you get my drift. Even Shaquille O'Neal on Inside the NBA told Nikola Jokic to his face that he thought SGA should have been the winner this year. In 3 games so far against Dallas, Gilgeous-Alexander nearly dropped back-to-back triple-doubles. He's also putting up 1.3 steals and 3 blocks per game. He's a guard, by the way, putting up 3 blocks a game. 5 of them came in Game 3. Jalen J-Dub Williams and Lou Dort have also been showing up under the bright lights. Oklahoma City's young core is putting on a show in these playoffs, even with the lack of experience. Thanks to both teams earning at least 1 win in this series will go to a minimum of 5. Game 4 is tonight, Monday, May 13th at 9:30 p.m. To get more insight into our highlight this week, we have our seventh guest on Diehlman at halftime. Let's get into it. So, for our seventh guest here on the Diehlman at Halftime podcast, we welcome Kai Carlin. Kai is the Sixers Wire editor at USA Today Sports Media Group. He graduated from Stockton University with a degree in communications and a degree in communication and media studies. Kai, how are we doing today?
What's going on, Larry? How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, man. Can't complain.
Yeah, so as we got toward the end of the season here, I was like, all right, I need to go out and get a big name guest, somebody that actually covers the NBA or is part of the NBA. And I'm like, Kai Carlin doing all the Sixers stuff. And obviously, Sixers are kind of out of season right now, but it's good to have you here. So
Appreciate
Kai,
it, Larry.
so Kai, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Oklahoma City Thunder as they are tied 1-1 in their Western Conference semifinal series with the Dallas Mavericks. So my first question for you, despite a convincing 117-95 win in game 1 and a 119-110 loss in game 2, what do the Thunder need to do to slow down Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, and the Mavericks over the course of the series?
So I don't think they necessarily really can. You don't really slow down stars like that. That's why I'm picking Dallas to win the series because the NBA playoffs are all about stars. And obviously the Thunder have Shea, and Shea is a star in his own right. My opinion, probably should have won MVP this year, but that's like another like debate, obviously. But I look at Dallas, right, and you have these two megastars. You have Luka Doncic, you have Kyrie Irving, you have guys who have been deep into the playoffs. Luka's been to a conference final with Dallas. Kyrie's obviously got all those years with Cleveland. So I look at the Mavericks and I see those two stars, and their two stars are always better than one. Thunder are still a very young team. So like when it comes to their defensive schemes, it's going to be like they're really going to have to kind of like be on their p's and q's really when you want to defend guys like Luka and Kyrie, and just because they're young, there's going to be stretches where they're not going to be able to be on their p's and q's like that, and that's really what we saw in Game 2. That's why Luka and Kyrie did what they did, and that was a 1-1 series going back to Dallas, and I think I think the Thunder will probably get one in Dallas. It'll be 2-2 going back to Oklahoma City. But I think the Mavericks win this series. Two stars are better than one.
Okay, so you have Dallas winning this series. So I made a bracket a few episodes ago. I did pretty good in the first round, except the Sixers Knicks, but we don't talk about that. So actually, I have OKC in 7. Now that could change. Either is I honestly could see this going either way. The first game was a blowout, and then the second game was a little close, but definitely should be a good series moving forward. So my second question for you, since Shea Gilgeous-Alexander was the MVP runner-up, what makes him such an electric player? And after being traded from the Clippers for Paul George, did you expect him to make this big of a leap this quickly?
I don't think anybody did, and I'm pretty sure if anybody does say that they did, they're probably lying. Like if we're going to be honest, like I think I think what makes him so tough to really defend is the fact that he does like he's not sped up. He plays at his own pace. Like you aren't going to put Shea in a setting where you got him thinking too much, you got him thinking too fast, or you're putting him in a position where he has to basically rush anything. And I think that's what's most impressive to me about Gilgis Alexander is the fact that he can really just control the pace of the game, and it doesn't matter what you do to him. You can blitz him, you can put him in a box and one, you can throw a zone at him, you can throw all NBA defenders at him, and it does not matter. He continues to just find a way. And I think that's probably what's been the most impressive thing to me. Every time I watch the Thunder, it literally looks like he's playing at a different pace than everybody else, just because he's literally just controlling everything from the point guard spot, and really he's got Oklahoma City way ahead of schedule because I think everybody knew the Thunder would be one of the better teams in the NBA at some point. I don't think they expected him to be or expected them to be one of the best teams in the league this quickly. And it's mainly because of the fact that Shea is able to take these big steps forward the way he has been.
Yeah, some good points there. It just seems like he is a different kind of player. He just knows where to be and how to play at all times. And like you said, the Thunder, it's like a sped up rebuild, if you will. They were like what, the 10th seed in the play-in last year, and then all of a sudden, okay, now we're the number 1 seed. You're ahead of Denver, you're ahead of Minnesota. So they really have sped up the process over in Oklahoma. So my next question for you, how far do you see Oklahoma City going in this year's playoffs? If they were to advance to the Western Conference Finals as the number one seed, they would host Minnesota or Denver.
See, I think at this point, I think the Timberwolves have been so impressive to me, and I mean, again, I think Anthony Edwards has just vaulted himself in the argument of being a top five player in the league today. So I think, I look at Ant, and I believe that guy is probably like if they can get past Denver, I think the Timberwolves make the NBA Finals for the first time in franchise history. It's just because he is so good, man. He is just the things he can do with the basketball, the shots he can make, everything that he does. It's on a totally different level. And then you throw in the fact that Minnesota's got the number one defensive. They were number one in defensive rating all season long. I think that's something a lot of people are forgetting. Like everybody's like, "Oh my God, how are they destroying the Denver Nuggets?" Well, I mean, it's because they are the number one defensive team in the league at the moment. Like all season long, they've been the number one defensive team in the playoffs. They got a 2-0 lead as this thing shifts back to up to Minneapolis. I think it's just they are so impressive with what they've been able to do. And shout out Chris Finch, man, because a lot of people were calling for Chris Finch's head, but I mean he's done such a great job figuring out how to get Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns to fit together. It's been great. Now, this is not a knock on the Thunder because the Thunder are so good. The Thunder, they are going to be a problem in the NBA for such a long time. I just don't think it's their time just yet. They haven't gone through that fire just yet. You know what I mean? Like when you look back at NBA champions and you see what they have had to go through before that championship run, and the Thunder just haven't gone through it yet. So, like if they can get past Dallas, great. I mean, this season is already a success for me. If I'm the Oklahoma City Thunder and I'm viewing this season, the season is already a success. So I mean, if you get past Dallas and you can't beat either whether Denver rallies to beat Minnesota or Minnesota finishes off. I don't think it's like a failure or anything. It's been a hell of a season for them.
Yeah, some good points there. I would probably consider this season a success for Oklahoma City because just again like the way they have risen so quickly. And I agree, the winner of the Minnesota Denver series should make the NBA Finals. Nothing's guaranteed in anything, but
Sure.
um I think Minnesota has a good chance. I was watching that game too, and they were making the Nuggets look like a playing team. It was that bad. So but yeah, Oklahoma City should I think they should get past Dallas, maybe not, but maybe it's not their time just yet. We'll see. So to wrap things up, do you think the Thunder have a ceiling in the near future? All of their main players are so young. So you have SGA, you have Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, well, J. Dub Williams,
Right.
all these young players. And you have to think too, Sam Presti, their general manager, all of his hoarded draft picks are going to be utilized in the coming season. So they could be having another top first round pick come in, even though they're already the number one seed.
This is what I'm saying. I don't think there really is. I really don't think that there is like a ceiling on the Thunder at the moment. I mean, again, they need to take their lumps. I think that's probably like the biggest thing that I could be like, and it's going to sound crazy because it's like why do they have to lose in order to get to win? I mean, you look at LeBron, like back in the day, you could never get past the Celtics. You could never get past, Golden State. Finally, he overcame Golden State in 2016. He got past Boston, and then he was able to finally hoist a championship. Kevin Durant, he had issues get going past certain people. So you go through lumps and you go through fire in the NBA. And that is when you are able to go on your championship run. Denver couldn't get past Golden State in round two at all. And I remember everybody was calling for them to maybe blow it up and maybe move on from Jamal Murray, maybe retool around Jokic a little bit. And then Denver went on their run last year and they won a championship. So I think with Oklahoma City, there isn't much of a ceiling. I believe that no matter what happens this year, this season's already a huge success. Take your lumps, take your experiences, and then you grow and you continue to build on it for the seasons to come.
Yeah, some good points there. You just gotta a young team like this, just build it 1 year at a time. It's never going to be, start young and then championship next year or blow it up. It's never like that. So you just got to keep building. Now, I would say that the Thunder are now a good blueprint for some of these other teams in the NBA for like a rebuilding process. Like we see some of these teams in the play-in tournament every year take I don't know, the Hawks, the Bulls, or whoever you want to throw in there, that they just keep running in circles. But I think the Thunder could be a blueprint for other teams as well.
Yeah, I mean they absolutely can. I think it's one of those things where, and you just mentioned the fact that Sam Presti was able to kind of hoard all of these draft picks, and the fact that he was able to do that while also continuing to keep Lou Dort around, a veteran, keeping Lou Dort around. Dort, I think, was on their last playoff team in 2020, as was Shea. Shea was on that team next to Chris Paul. So, he was able to keep Dort around. He was able to bring in, excuse me, Chet Holmgren, being able to land him last year in the draft, being able to land on both the Jalen Williamses, being able to land on both those guys is just impressive work from a GM perspective. And to put them around a guy like Shea, who clearly has the respect and the trust of his team and his organization and everybody else that comes with it. And if you're the Thunder, like this is it. Like you're going to be your core for the next 5, 6, 7 years. This is your window to win a title right now.
Yeah, some good points there. So, Kai, thank you for appearing on our podcast this week. A lot of great insight, and maybe we can get you back in the future.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
Let's go to our low light, the Cleveland Cavaliers. The good news for the Cleveland Cavaliers, they won their 7-game battle with Orlando to escape the first round. The bad news, playing the Boston Celtics was their reward. Cleveland is down 2-1 in their Eastern Conference semifinal series, following a Game 2 where the Cavs spanked the Celtics on the road 118-94. Cleveland couldn't overcome the combined 61 points from Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in Game 3. One thing that's killing the Cavs is the lack of a big man, specifically Jarrett Allen. While Evan Mobley is a budding star in the paint, Allen has been a starter for Cleveland since his arrival in 2021. Nonetheless, Donovan Mitchell runs the show in Cleveland. Mitchell is averaging 31.7 points per game in 3 games so far against Boston. He even hit 7 triples in Game 3. If the Cavs want to win this series in a massive upset, and I mean massive upset, they're going to need more production from their core. Darius Garland has produced some disappearing acts this postseason. So has Max Strus. If Cleveland doesn't win Game 4, it might be panic time, especially with Game 5 being in Beantown. Game 4 is tonight, Monday, May 13th at 7 o'clock. Let's go over to our random stat. Yesterday, as people were celebrating Mother's Day, the NBA had their own special event planned, the draft lottery. Although the 2024 draft isn't until June 26th and 27th, we now know who has perhaps the best chances to turn their franchises around, and we can predict where the best prospects are going. The 5 teams who entered the lottery with the best chances for the first overall pick from 1 to 5 were the Detroit Pistons, Washington Wizards, Charlotte Hornets, Portland Trail Blazers, and the San Antonio Spurs. The winners of the first 5 picks were the Atlanta Hawks, Washington Wizards, Houston Rockets, San Antonio Spurs, and the Detroit Pistons. The Hawks had a 3% chance to win the lottery. As crazy as it sounds, Atlanta's 3% chance isn't even the lowest in NBA history. The 1993 Orlando Magic won the lottery with a 1.52% chance. After winning the lottery the previous year and drafting Shaquille O'Neal, Orlando drafted Chris Webber in 1993. They promptly traded him to Golden State for Penny Hardaway. Meanwhile, Detroit has had the worst record in the league in back-to-back years, and they got number 5 both years. Now, something that people forget, even if you have the worst record or one of the worst records, there is no guarantee that you're going to get the number 1 pick. Like, if you have the worst record, you don't have like 75% chance to get the number 1 pick. The top picks, usually you can get like a 14% chance, but Atlanta really got lucky here and got the top pick this year. Some of this year's top prospects include University of Kentucky guard Rob Dillingham, French forward Zachary Risache, and French center Alexander Sarr. Many believe that Sarr will be first overall despite the fact that there isn't a generational talent like Victor Wembanyama last year. Here we go. Finally, let's go to Game of the Week. For this week's Game of the Week, let's go with the Indiana Pacers at New York Knicks. This game is on Tuesday, May 14th at 8 o'clock at Madison Square Garden. Tomorrow's matchup is Game 5 of this Eastern Conference semifinal series. This series is going to a minimum of 6 games thanks to the Pacers dominating Game 4 victory. New York had no chance in Game 4 due to Indiana's lights-out shooting, but arguably the biggest game between these two so far was Game 3. As the shot clock was expiring with 16 seconds left and with the score tied, Indiana's Andrew Nembhard hit a deep step-back three right in Jalen Brunson's face. The Pacers would have went down 0-3 had they lost. The home team has won every game, and even though New York's dealing with a really bad injury bug, I'll take the Knicks 109-102. Well, that's all the time we have for today. If you haven't already, make sure to follow me on social media. I have 2 Twitter accounts and 2 Instagram accounts. The podcast accounts are under @Diehlman_NBA for both Twitter and Instagram. My personal Twitter is @LarryDiehlman18, and my personal Instagram is @Mr_Sports18. They are also in the description on SoundCloud. And thank you to Kai Carlin for being our guest this week on the podcast. Remember, you can follow him on both Twitter and Instagram @Kai_Carlin. That is @KY_CARLIN. And don't forget to spread the word about Diehlman at halftime. See you next time, fellow Hoops fans.